wrinkles to show for it.
No.
Getting old.
What are you talking about?
That's right. All right, guys. Welcome back to the WODprep podcast. I'm here. I'm your host, CJ Palma, with the better host, Claire Bays, and the guest of the hour, Jocelyn Rylee.
What's up?
Yep. Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
I
Jocelyn
try.
Rylee.
Perfect.
Which in 2 weeks, if that, you're going to be a 17-year affiliate owner.
Yes. You know, we don't have like an official anniversary date. My husband and I quit our jobs to become trainers in early 2008.
Okay.
We're doing personal training with people here and there, found CrossFit, got to our level 1 in September of 2008. But November 1st was when we signed the lease on our first space. So had the keys to our first space. So kind of call that our anniversary, but
Gotcha.
it was a slow roll of this whole thing starting.
From there.
2008 it started.
Yeah.
Which is more fingers than I have to count on of how many
gosh.
years that's been.
Almost fingers and toes.
Filling up the fingers and toes. Yeah.
We're definitely, heads up, guys, by the way, we're definitely going to get into nutrition because if you don't know anything about Jocelyn, which you probably already do, but if you don't, that's a heavy focus for her. And we know I'm fascinated, so we're going to go there. But the the affiliate ownership, have you ever gone through, I mean, that many years, have you gone through seasons where you've considered selling or anything like that? Or is it kind of the whole way through been like, we love doing this? I mean, I'm sure it's seen its different seasons in different ways, but
yeah, never a point where we seriously considered getting out. And my love for my affiliate is parallel to my love for my husband. And I heard Jason Khalifa use the term burn the boats. Once you're in, you burn the boats, you're not going back.
Yeah.
And our affiliate has been through many different iterations and changes and tons of mistakes, probably all of them.
Yeah.
But there was never a point where we considered not doing it.
Yeah. So you feel like it's in a good spot today?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And through that long process, we didn't have these wonderful things like best hour of their day and, you know, the affiliate support we get from CrossFit HQ now. We were really just cowboying it Wild West style, trying to figure out how to make this a business and made all the mistakes. And now hopefully wise enough to have learned from them.
Yeah.
How to do things better. But, yeah.
So where's your affiliate at?
We're in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Western Canada.
Saskatoon,
far north.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
That's
A mouthful.
a mouthful for sure.
You did good with that. Well done.
You did.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I usually just say Canada. It's like
Canada, right? Yeah.
Which is also very large.
Yeah.
Which is very
Huge, massive.
somewhere up there. America's hat.
Right,
Yeah.
America's hat. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, on that, like the affiliate toolkit and things, when was that transition? So you cowboyed it till when do you think you actually started like feeling like HQ help, like to help run the business?
Well, I think by the time HQ was developing those resources, we were more on the end of contributing to help develop those resources.
Okay, and when was that, like in time frame?
I started working for HQ in 2019. And then I've had the opportunity to be involved in CrossFit in a variety of ways, and game side and sports side and EDU side and affiliate mentorship and all kinds of different things. So
At this point, your involvement with HQ, is that largely in the EDU side, or where are you right now?
Yeah, so my official main role, I'm on the seminar staff. So I teach the level 1 and 2 courses all over Canada for the most part. Every once in a while, they let me dabble across the border.
Yeah.
And then I work for the games team in the summer, contribute with the CrossFit Games. I also do a bunch of work with the brand side on the CrossFit podcast, and the media side, lots of content development now on CrossFit's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I also write lots of the articles that appear on the essential section of CrossFit.com, usually in the realm of nutrition. That's kind of my jam.
Yep.
And yeah, a variety of things that exist within the EDU brand, media, content, that kind of stuff now.
And you run a gym.
I do run a gym. Yeah. Full time.
And do you have kids?
I do. I have 2 kids. They're 15 and 9, 2 boys.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of wild to me.
Yeah. And so, and you train, I assume?
Like
You do
sometimes.
fits? Right. Yeah. I feel it there. Yeah.
Not as much as I would like,
I know.
but
I feel you there.
the last few years especially have been a real solid 3 days a week.
Yeah.
But then the average activity level of my life is quite high. I coach a lot.
Sure. How many hours a week are you on
Doing
the floor?
seminars. I mean, I don't know if you're demoing a lot of movement or not, but I mean, you are moving around and there's a lot of energy that gets dumped into that. Obviously, if anybody's ever taken an L1 or an L2, I mean, that seminar staff member is doing a lot.
My life involves a lot of reps.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's my favorite part. I used to have a corporate job years ago before CrossFit. I worked as a financial analyst and had a seated desk job, hunchback position, and went,
Mhm.
I can't do this for the rest of my life. So that opportunity to have all kinds of roles where I get to be on my feet, moving around and squatting below parallel as part of my profession is part of the job I'm always very grateful for.
Yeah.
As I get older in my 40s now, and I'm like, hey, my knees, my hips, my back, everything feels great. I think it's a big function of just moving
Yeah.
for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eating well.
I think it's moving. We just had Chris Henshaw on, and so we talked about performance versus longevity, and that we want there to be like synonymity, like synonymous flows, but there just isn't, right? Like the further you push into performance, we understand that like longevity is less important, which means that it will probably go away. But when you do it just for example, demonstration, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we know that movement is for sure like the number one driver for longevity of, like everything that we do. And so it's cool.
And here's the thing, time comes for all of us.
Right.
So whether or not you choose to have a period of time in your life where you pursue performance above health or longevity, time only goes forward. We're all only getting older. And so at some point, the performance season comes to an end of your life. I lived in that realm in my late 20s, early 30s of competing in Olympic weightlifting and CrossFit and pursuing that. And it comes at a cost. Like you said, those are, give and take. There's costs and benefits to everything you choose. But time comes for all of us, and constantly varied functional movement executed high intensity is elite aging over time when you do it for the long term.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and so, that podcast was so heavily geared towards performance and obviously with movement in particular. But then, of course, you could take and apply the exact same concept, which you obviously talk about all the time, but with like performance-minded nutrition versus longevity-minded nutrition, and how they are not the same conversation. And we are in this world where you have athletes that are focusing on different things based on that season of life that they are in.
Yeah.
With the nutrition focus, and I have heard you talk about it a little bit, but when did that come into play? Like, were you already owning an affiliate? I think that you were, right, by the time you started to kind of turn your gaze towards nutrition and get really passionate, or am I wrong on that?
That was like first? Food was always a strong interest of mine. Even in high school, I loved cooking. There was a period of time where I thought I might go to chef school instead of going to university, and ended up going to business school. But just always really loved food and flavors and cultures and all of the smart ways that people found to feed themselves in all these different environments, and the way food brings people together. And just really loved that. And I wasn't an athlete growing up at all. I was in grad school by the time I was like, I should like go to a gym and get skinny or whatever was the goal.
We relate on that too. I wasn't in grad school, but I was an adult when I figured
I was a real,
to look at it anyway.
Late bloomer with like fitness whatsoever.
That's encouraging because she's in great shape.
Yeah. Thank you, CrossFit. Turns out it works.
Yeah.
And then, got into just typical reps and sets bodybuilding type stuff. So I got a personal trainer teach me about this gym stuff. Turned out, hey, I was pretty decent at building muscle, and then got into like the bodybuilding side of things, figure competitions for a couple years, which is heavily focused on nutrition, because that's how you make all your body composition changes, is by what you're eating.
Sure.
And so, I mean, maybe we like are a little pejorative, poo-poo the bodybuilding world of things, but to their credit, it was mostly whole foods. It's maybe not exactly what I would recommend now, but at least it was paying attention to nutrition as the major lever that drives body composition for them. We're now more health and longevity focused, but hey, there's no shame in saying you want to look.
There's a certain thing. And I mean,
you want to be able to take your shirt off. That's fine. I'm not judgmental towards that as a goal.
Yeah.
And then, it was oats and chicken and broccoli and like pretty much real whole foods. And, so I had a strong understanding coming into CrossFit that nutrition was the lever that drove adaptation.
Yeah.
How you maximize the most out of your efforts in the gym is based on all those hours when you're not in the gym, and all those decisions you make of fork to mouth and what you're going to put in your body.
Yeah. So whenever you started to come into CrossFit at that time, you were coming away from the bodybuilding world and entering into that world. And so you had this base of understanding of nutrition from that, through looking at it through that lens. When you came into CrossFit, you were also maybe looking at it a little bit more from that performance perspective versus longevity, right? So would you say that I mean, I feel like as a human, you just inevitably evolve, right? But your approach to nutrition as a CrossFitter was different than it is today.
Yeah, and that's part of the natural evolution of the methodology and experimentation. At the level 1 in the nutrition lecture, we talk about N of 1, just this constant evolution of self-experimentation. Just try things and observe results. Track your inputs, track your outputs, and just try stuff. Which in those early days, that was everything. The whole methodology was in the hands of this disparate group of people and affiliates and on army bases, and we were just trying stuff and just seeing what moved the needle. Training, volume, days per week, sessions per day, and then nutrition in the early days of CrossFit was a huge part of the conversation. You would meet someone back then and it was, what's your Fran time and how many blocks are you on?
Yep.
It was the zone, it was paleo, and what are you doing and what are you doing? And that seems to be working, and this trading of ideas and being willing to try things and then sharing the data and information with other people. Like, well, I'm doing this and it seems to be doing this. And if I try this, it seems to be making me go faster. And, that early style, that vibe is what I hope to carry on and push and continue to foster through the whole CrossFit community of it's training and nutrition. Those are the inputs, and then we can observe the results.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess as far as so then in getting into the nutrition side of it, like today, I'm assuming you don't use the block method with your clients today, or?
I think we just have to understand the context of where the zone came from. So Dr. Barry Sears developed it in the late 90s. And the context of that time was all we had was like Weight Watchers. All calories are the same, just eat less of them. Mm-hmm. And he was the first person to really push the idea that the hormonal impact of the macronutrients is different. And we need to account for them separately. We can't just say all calories are the same, because the hormonal impact of them in your body is clearly different. But we also didn't have a smartphone in your pocket. You couldn't just open up an app and scan the UPC code on any item you saw and have it populate. So he came up with this idea of the block system and protein, carbs, and fats, and trying to, eat in a balance to stay in the zone. And I don't know if you remember the old days where you had the journal article and the zone charts, and you'd like tape them on your cupboards. And it was, at its base form, 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, 30% fat, a pretty typical mainstream base starting point.
Yeah.
And you try that for a couple of weeks and then observe the results and adjust as needed. What it gave us in simplicity, it lacked a little bit of precision, but it was kind of what you had to do at the time, because you couldn't carry like an encyclopedia of every food and its total macronutrient content around with you. Mm-hmm. Now we can probably accomplish the same thing with more precision, just as a function of all the tools we have available to us. Yeah. But the same basic principles are the same.
Well, and not only the macronutrient, like, so the influence on hormones being really important. Mm-hmm. You feel like that is a correct approach to it, like being mindful of how these foods that we're intaking is influencing us on a hormonal level. Yeah. And so it's not just the macros, it's so much more than that, right?
Yeah.
Like what else is going on here, right?
Yeah.
Because there are things in them that don't even contribute to those that matter tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, in the CrossFit methodology, we have our nutrition prescription. Pretty simple. Eat meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar.
Yeah.
And then the next line in World Class Fitness in 100 words is keep intake to levels that support exercise but not body fat.
Yep.
Excess body fat.
Yep.
And it's food quality first.
Yeah.
The first line of World Class Fitness tells us what to eat, and it's real whole foods. Mm-hmm. And then we can talk about quantification, precision and accuracy, and optimization. But we don't want to jump to quantification if we haven't mastered the proper mechanics of food quality.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to start to track your macros if you're still eating, Subway sandwiches and granola bars and Go-Gurts and that kind of stuff. It's like our efforts would be better spent addressing the quality first and then move on to optimization.
I have a question.
Well, you're saying something really profound in that, and you're saying you're making it quite simple. That is, most people reverse that these days that I see.
Yeah.
And we are in the United States, and I know that our foods are not the same as in Canada necessarily. But the processing and the way that we arrive at the food is just wild.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were you going to say?
Well, on that note, so like on 100 words, eat to sustain body fat, right? Not excess.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like the high level athletes and 700, 800 carbohydrates and like cereal and
Let's do the form of
Sour
like
Patch
gummy
Kids.
candies
Yeah,
and
Sour
things
Patch
like
Kids.
that. Sure.
Just like, what's your thought on that? Like, obviously they're not sustaining any body fat, right?
Yeah.
Like they probably could even increase that by another 10% or 20% and still be under 10% for
Body fat
guys
wise
and body
healthy.
fat wise. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, what do you think about that? Like it does that like grind your gears, etc. Or, and if it does, like, what would be your solution?
Okay. It doesn't grind my gears. I think a lot of the antagonism in nutrition, and let's be honest, it's dirty out there. People are fighting and you should do this and you shouldn't do that. And I'm debunking you or this or that. The majority of the battles in nutrition come from people that have different goals. And if we just establish
Totally.
that somebody's goal is short-term performance, and by short-term, I mean like 2 to 5 years, not even like the next 30 days. I mean, you have performance goals. I'm going to get to the CrossFit Games, I'm going to win, whatever. And then other people care less about performance and more about health and longevity. I want to sustain the volume under the curve, my work capacity across broad time and modal domains across the years of my life. And those might be two different choices. So you can spike area under the curve, short term, your fitness right now. But if you want to sustain volume under the curve for the long term, those are probably two different choices.
Mhm.
So I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout way. We talk about the 4 models of fitness, right? And we talk about generalization versus specialization.
Which are, just for the listeners,
the 10 generally recognized physical skills, which we adopted from the Dynamax guys.
Mhm.
And we know that the CrossFitter, the GPP program, we're trying to be as well balanced across all 10 as we can. Whereas a specialist, a marathon runner or a power lifter is trying to be world class at one thing, which we know comes at a cost of other things. We know that. We have our energy systems, right? We want to be good in all 3. We want to be good short, medium, and long. And we understand that a specialist has different goals. An endurance runner wants to be really good at the long end. A power lifter, an Olympic lifter wants to be really good at the high power end. And those things are fine. It's not judgmental towards anybody's goals. We have the hopper model, right? Throw any random tasks into the hopper. Whoever's the fittest is going to perform the best on average across the broadest number of random tasks. Fun fact, that's how they programmed one of the workouts at the first CrossFit Games.
Yes.
The literal hopper. It's still
Yes.
in the corner at the ranch, at
Yeah.
the Castro Ranch.
I still think it should be another.
It's occasionally come up, and he just feels like the last thing I heard Dave mention about it was simply the whole like its impact on the whole test, and that's
Right.
the struggle
Yeah.
that he has. Anyway,
So we know what specialization versus generalization looks like in those 3. But the 4th model is the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, which actually was added by Coach Glassman later on, because there was this recognition that if we just track performance markers, we're missing a piece of the puzzle. And so he brings in this idea that your biomarkers, your health markers are also important, and that fitness and health are measurements of the same quality. They're not in opposition to each other. It's not fitness or health. It's that fitness is health. Health is fitness over the long term. It's fitness that sticks.
Yep.
And so what does specialization look like on the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum? It looks like an athlete that's willing to sacrifice health markers to go in the wrong direction on the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum for the sake of short-term performance. And we see that all the time in all kinds of specialization realms.
Right.
Athletes willing to sacrifice orthopedic health or safety. They're willing to do things in weight class sports for weigh-ins that are clearly not, in agreement with health, extreme weight loss, cutting, dehydration techniques, multiple examples in all kinds of different realms of specialization. But in our world, in the world of CrossFit, at the point where we're willing to sacrifice our health markers for the sake of performance, now we're not being generalists. We're not being CrossFitters anymore. Now we're being specialists. And so it exists in our world as well, that there are people that will chase short-term CrossFit performance and they're willing to sacrifice health markers. And so you'll see athletes with hormonal dysfunction. You'll see female athletes that haven't had a menstrual cycle in 2 years or have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is fundamentally a disease of insulin resistance from using high carb diets to fuel performance. And you'll see a lowering of orthopedic safety or a willingness to take risks that might result in injury, that some of us might not take those risks, right?
Mhm.
Which is fine as long as we're clear on
what we're doing.
Sure.
The risks we're willing to take on. So I'm like an informed consent person.
Yeah.
Right.
Eat however you want, choose whatever you want, match your goals, as long as we're clear on like, here's the trade-offs of
Sure.
doing those things. And
Yeah.
some people choose performance and they're willing to dial down the safety, and some people prioritize safety and they're willing to dial down the performance a few percentage points, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to be judgmental towards anybody's choices, as long as we're just all clear what we've opted in or out of.
Sure.
So say you have an athlete that's like teens, 20s, like they go on a 10-year run of being performance focused, right? With their nutrition, with their training, et cetera. And so they're making those specialization decisions. The body is also incredibly resilient, right? And when you give it new and different tools, it adapts pretty well, and so I'm curious, and I realize this, I'm not sure if this is easy to answer or impossible almost, but an athlete that spends a decade focused on it in that way, so they are eating the 800 grams of carbs a day, and they're not getting more body fat, they're staying very they're able to perform, and then they shift their focus. I guess I'm like, the body will take those new tools and do something meaningful with them. And so I guess, like, do you feel like someone who does that for a decade would be doing irreparable damage, or not necessarily? Just depends.
Not necessarily. I think that's, you would really have to be person to person.
Yeah,
But
so
very
individualized.
context dependent.
Yeah.
But I do think the questions that you're asking in there makes the case for monitoring biomarkers much earlier.
Yes.
I think we think of going to get your blood work done as like an old people thing.
Yeah.
Why would I monitor my HSCRP, your marker of inflammation? Why would I monitor my HbA1c, my glycated hemoglobin, like a measure of your blood glucose control? You think of that's like stuff your grandparents do. You don't worry about that till you're in your 60s. Whereas if we're actually on top of monitoring those things, it's just data. It's just knowledge. If there starts to be some, maybe not even red flags, but yellow flags popping up, it might influence the decisions that you make from that point forward.
Yeah.
And honestly, I do think even from the purely performance-oriented kind of thing, it's not good for an athlete to be full of inflammation. It's not good for athletes to have chronically high blood sugar. Those things glycating your red blood cells are also glycating your tendons and your connective tissue and making you more prone to injury in the sport. So I think the amount of tools and data that we have is only increasing. Sleep trackers and step trackers, and you can slap a glucose monitor on, and shout out to the CrossFit Medical Society. You can track all your biomarkers and go get your blood work done, and they'll put it in a cool panel and show you where you sit on the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. And I do think knowledge is power for people, and I think it's important to just know what's up.
Yeah.
What's going on.
Yeah. Well, and consuming high volumes of sugar feeds things in your body that you don't necessarily want to feed. And then you expand that over the course of time. And anyway, yeah. So then I'll go into the personal experience bit. Yeah. Okay. Well, so a couple of years ago, and this is where I gave Jocelyn the heads up. I'm like, I got a funny, it's not funny at all, a story. So coming into CrossFit for me, it was, of course, just I thought that the way that people moved was phenomenal. The way that the women looked was phenomenal. Also came into it in my early 20s and had been watching it since I was a teenager, but thought it was for them, not me, and then got around to it and got in there anyway. And so the nutrition portion was, sure, I took a level 1 and I heard about it, and it was in a small container there, and it wasn't what I was most interested in, and I didn't really focus on it, right? So it does exist in our methodology quite clearly as the base of the pyramid, which means that it's really relevant. But then individual focus on that can be, really irrelevant, honestly, or much smaller. And that was the case for me. And so then a couple of years ago, I was living in a mold infested apartment and I got really ill. And so through the course of that time, by the time we figured out what was going on and so on, I developed a couple of autoimmune diagnoses. And so it's been a long journey since then. Like I said, this is a couple of years ago, and I'm still working with a functional medicine team to heal from that. We've made incredible progress, which is so cool. You give it new and different tools and it behaves differently.
Yeah.
The nutrition side of things, I would eat many whole foods, but I would also eat the protein, snacks that are highly processed. And I would still consume a lot of sucralose and things like that through gum, an energy drink, whatever it was, right? And so symptomatically at that time, so this is just my experience, was symptomatically, I was really not okay, to the point where, and I understand there are other contributing factors that had made me sick, but by this point, the food's contribution to my symptoms was so severe that getting from thought to action was really challenging. It just got to the point where it's like sitting down to write a to-do list. Like I just couldn't quite get there. Like it got nasty.
Like cognitive brain fog.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. And I mean, there, of course, like it was POTS was one of the ones, and the rheumatoid arthritis was another one. And so I had reached a point where the limbic system in my brain was not working very well, and the my gut microbiome, of course, was completely just wrecked. And so thankfully did different lab work to get clear on those pictures, and have been working on healing it. But either way, symptomatically, what I experienced when I removed all of these processed things and got really focused during that season on high fat, moderate protein, very limited carb, because I was so ill, the symptom reprieve that I experienced was jarring in a very positive way. So I still had all of this work to do, and I'm still doing, to heal the gut microbiome that had been jacked, and everything else that has taken place, right? But just from a symptom standpoint, so that really like caused me to all of a sudden, my interest and respect for the whole foods, like you said, let's focus on the quality first, and then let's work on the quantity. I just don't think that conversation is commonly being had. And this experience certainly for me made my own, like, oh my gosh, I mean, how many people are walking around with chronic inflammation unknowingly, and so on,
The majority
systemic
of people.
inflammation. Exactly. Yes. And so anyway, that's my personal story about it. But with that, like, then listening to what you have to say about nutrition, of course, feels very aligned. I'm really grateful that you're a spokesperson for CrossFit when it comes to nutrition as a result of that. What do you think about all that?
Well, yeah, I think it's both wonderful, and it sucks that it takes someone having a personal conversion experience like that to get it. I'm like on this soapbox talking about nutrition as much as people will let me now. Basically, that's like my role in the world of CrossFit. It's trying to get people to value it, but it's unfortunate that, I mean, it's very parallel to coaching. You can tell an athlete like, hey, you need to keep your back flat when you deadlift until you're blue in the face. And unfortunately, some people have to injure themselves until they take it seriously, So I would love it if we could get more people to understand the importance of nutrition before it has to get that bad. But then hopefully by sharing your story, you can help other people understand the importance of it, or understand the value of it as a tool, as a lever. If you are experiencing maybe strange, diffuse health symptoms that don't seem immediately related to your diet, maybe experimenting with your diet is worth thinking about. Sometimes people are like, oh, I have joint pain, and it doesn't click that maybe that has something to do with your diet. I have migraine headaches. I have trouble sleeping. I mean, gut issues seems like it makes more sense that it's possibly related to the food you eat, but you'd be surprised at the number of people and the number of doctors. They won't even entertain the idea that gut problems could be related to what you put in the gut 3 to 5 times a day.
Right.
And to me, once people understand that, it's very empowering because you make your food decisions multiple times a day, every day. And then that's a real serious lever that you can use to change all kinds of things, to change your health, to change how you feel, to change your mental state, to change your performance in the gym. There's so many aspects of your life that can be influenced heavily, primarily by what you eat every day.
So you mentioned like joint pain, and the joint pain could be influenced by, impacted by your nutritional habits. Why? What mechanism? Like what's happening there?
I mean, there's so many things. So literally what your joints are built out of is what you eat. So we have to build strong cartilage, tendons, ligaments in the first place. And those things are built out of the protein that you eat, the animal foods. We need the collagen building amino acids and the vitamins and minerals that go into that in the first place. And that's super important, especially in the developmental years. So I'm pretty passionate about kids nutrition. Adults can go make their own choices and do whatever. but kids are, at the mercy of whatever's happening in their household.
Absolutely, yes.
And I would love to see all kids make it to adulthood with good health and good quality tissues, and then they can make their own choices past that point.
Yeah.
So there's building it in the first place. There's the moving it properly aspect of it, which, I mean, we are the technique people in CrossFit, so teaching people how to move their joints safely through a full range of motion. And then the glycation of tissues, like we touched on, if your blood sugar is chronically elevated, that glucose binds with those tissues. And if you think of something being candy coated, it becomes more brittle. So then it becomes more prone to, bicep tendon ruptures and things like that. And then there's the inflammatory state. So if we're in a chronically inflamed situation from all kinds of things, stress, alcohol, sugar, the ultra processed foods, there's many additives. I think you mentioned this briefly, all the things in the food that aren't even food. They're not even being accounted for in the calories or the macros.
Right.
A variety of additives and things that are largely untested, and we don't really know what the safety of those things is.
They're being tested on us in real time. It's going really well.
We're in one big live ultimate.
And it's not going well.
Yeah. Depends if you opt into the control group or the intervention group.
Right.
Unlike all kinds of things, the balance of fatty acids, right? CrossFit's talked about fish oil since the very beginning, the omega-3 fatty acids and the ratio of those versus the omega-6 from grains, and now our seed oils are in everything. And there's so many aspects that can go into it, and it can get so complicated. You can get so lost in the weeds of the specifics of the biochemistry of nutrition.
Which is fascinating. Do it.
Yeah, and I understood. So my background as a financial analyst,
Science.
I understood the business side of the ultra processed food industry. And then the CrossFit, I understood real people in front of me in my affiliate, what makes people healthier. But then I was like, I really do need to understand the nerd stuff here. I need to understand the biochemistry of nutrition better to have better conversations. And so I went back to school in 2021 and did a master's of science in human nutrition. So I feel like I went all the way through the weeds into the most complicated understanding, only to come out of it and go like, you know what you should eat? Meats, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch and no sugar. Like you come out from air and look at the horizon. It's like almost regardless of the level of understanding. The prescription's the same.
Yeah.
She real food.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's like the pain point, like you referenced, like you would love for it to not need to get to where someone is like outright chronically ill. And their quality of life is poor enough that they feel forced,
Yeah.
but often that is how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And so being a nearly 17-year affiliate owner who is wildly passionate about this specific topic, like to make this, as much as I enjoy airing that out and talking about it, because I think your perspective is great, like then there are some tactics that you have in your affiliate to weave in the base of the pyramid, because that's one of the things is, okay, yeah, people come in for their class, you get the like how are you incorporating that more effectively for your members?
I think it just needs to be part of the culture and part of the methodology. So I try to make these parallels to coaching, movement that we understand pretty well in the world of CrossFit, that we also just need to coach the proper technique of nutrition. And we're relentless with telling people to squat your heels and push your knees out and lift your chest up in the deadlift. And we need to be relentless in continuing the message of nutrition as well. Keeping it relatively simple. So what do I use in my affiliate? Every angle I possibly can. So it's a topic of discussion in the classes. Question of the day. What'd you guys eat for breakfast? What's for dinner tonight? Keeping it front of mind of what we're eating. There's also some social proof or reinforcement there when people hear other people are planning ahead and eating.
Pterodactyl. Pterodactyl.
Oh, the social proof.
Yeah.
He was studying dinosaurs and got some. Yeah. Anyway.
So is that like a code word?
No. I was watching. I was on the plane. I was watching something about dinosaurs, and we were talking about like everyone is hesitant till like the one person takes the leap, right? And so like there's like the leader of the crew, right? We're talking to Joel Cochran, and he was like, I'll pick out the person that's probably going to be the most emotional, so that everyone sort of like lets down their walls. And so sort of the same thing. And so this thing I was watching was like these pterodactyls, these babies go climb a cliff, and then they have to fly immediately, like right as soon as they're born, and they won't go until one goes. And so it's like, the ice wall falls, etc. And so anyways, that was the same thing.
Pterodactyls.
Yeah, pterodactyls.
I'll use that. I'm gonna steal that.
You should. It's great. It's so great.
He's enjoying it. We'll see how many times it comes up today.
A lot,
Yeah.
for sure.
We do a weekly newsletter blog post, and it has the workouts for the week on it, so people always look at it because they want to know what the
Right.
workouts are.
Yes.
Almost always there's something nutrition related in there. My husband and I do a podcast for our affiliate, CrossFit Brio. Follow it if you like. A couple of CrossFit nerds
Is
talking
that
about
BRIO?
BRIO. Yep.
Okay.
We're often shooting the shit on nutrition related topics, questions that people bring to us from the community. We'll have longer format discussions on it. Our social media, we just hired a nutrition coach that handles the one-on-one stuff. So we have the services available for people, and just trying to get people to think about it.
Yep.
And if I accomplish nothing else other than my members picking up an item and reading the ingredients in the grocery store, I feel like I'm moving the needle in the right direction.
Oh my gosh.
She did that to me. More
Yeah,
so,
just like-
even more so than I already did.
Yeah, and just
I'm so
be
proud.
aware of what it is. And then people come to you and they're like, holy shit. They're like, what is all this stuff? I'm like, I know. And
Yeah.
I have this crazy idea that maybe if you don't know what it is, don't eat it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and some considerations from there. This is just, of course, yet again, my opinion and how I go about looking at a label, right? Like if it's not a single food item, that's
Mhm.
obviously what it is. If there are multiple ingredients there, and I don't know what one is, then I personally, and I'm not saying this is the best approach or whatever, but I have curiosity immediately with what is this doing to my gut microbiome? What could this potentially be doing to my gut microbiome? And then also, is it something that is spiking blood sugar or whatever, right? Those are things that, is this going to have potentially cause an inflammatory response in me? And is this potentially going to harm my microbiome? Those are considerations for me that are kind of paramount considering what all has occurred, right? And so you can look up these food additives and learn about them. And you can go one by one. It doesn't, but those, like you said, like it's absolutely fascinating. And unfortunately, most of these things, like, well, not touching that,
Yeah.
But then there are so many beautiful, wonderful foods that you do have access to, that you can have a vibrant food life. You just have to make intentional choices with it, right?
Yeah.
And
I love food and I love cooking, and I want to bring back a renaissance of people appreciating good ingredients. Go to the farmer's market. What's fresh? What's local right now? Cook in your kitchen. Cook with your kids. Make food for people you love. Bring people together. Like those classics of, I enjoy really good French cuisine and great Italian cuisine, and bring back the art of cooking. And it makes me sad when people view healthy nutrition as like weighing and measuring your plain chicken and your boiled broccoli. And they're like, what? I'm like, there's so much love and enjoyment and passion and culture and bringing people together that can happen from good food.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that what's so funny is what you said straight out of the gate. I mean, you nailed it. Like, wait, we're having fun now, but you could stop there. Is it? Look at the quality first, and the quality of the experience with the food as well. Are the presence with it and the presence with others with it. Well, and you said that I've influenced your, which is so wonderful, but that's not been so through sharing my experience with it, not like a, hey, you need to be doing that, right?
Yeah, it's peer pressure. You're mean.
No.
Hey, whatever it takes. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
Because it is a very delicate topic. Also, there's a lot of emotional attachment to that experience and a lot of baggage that comes with it for most individuals. And so, dancing with them on the topic of something that's going to really probably drum up a lot of emotional response, whether they communicate that to you or not, it's going to be an experience that's had and the attachments to those foods.
I think a lot of coaches and affiliate owners shy away from the nutrition conversations because they are afraid to go there.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of things people will criticize, like, paying attention to your food, like that's going to lead to an eating disorder. What are you never going to eat a cookie ever again? That's got to be like pathological, and orthorexia, these terms get thrown around. And I just feel like, again, back to parallels with coaching, like a lot of people come to us with a lot of baggage about exercise and maybe some bad emotions, like being picked last for gym class or over exercising, like an exercise bulimia. You would only exercise to punish yourself because you ate a cookie and to burn calories and to be less. And we're like, no. We're like, exercise is amazing. It's how you lean into being the best version of you, and you deserve to be strong and feel good and sleep well and have healthy joints that move through a full range of motion. And exercise is about being more and showing up as the best version of yourself for the people and things that matter to you in your life. And so we don't shy away from trying to change people's mindset around exercise. And we know that we're willing to lean into those hard conversations because you're like, this is the best thing we could do for people.
Yeah.
And I feel the same thing about nutrition. So yes, people will come to us with all kinds of baggage about like, you know, oh, weighing and measuring is going to lead me down a bad path, and thinking about restricting my food or not eating certain things. Like I have hang-ups about that. And like, I get that. And especially girls, like we're subjected to all kinds of bullshit. Like I grew up in the 90s with like Kate Moss heroin chic as the ideal of the female aesthetic. Like, not a fun time to be a short, stocky girl with thick legs. Let me tell you. You know? And then when I found CrossFit, it was very transformative to me to come from that world of the only reason you thought about what you were eating was to be less and to restrict and to try to shrink and to try to lose weight and all these things. And and then I learned when I got to CrossFit, I was like, oh, nobody here is asking how many calories did this workout burn. That's not why we're here. You know? These girls are trying to be more. They want to squat more weight. They want to do more pull-ups. They want to be capable of more things. And it took me a minute to like understand even what this culture was. And then it like blew my mind, or it opened up a whole realm that I never even considered could exist of why you would exercise or think about what you ate. Like coming from the bodybuilding world, right? It was, you did hours of cardio and you restricted what you were eating because you were always trying to shrink and be less and be leaner and less fat and everything. And I was like, oh, this. And then I was like, this is where I'm going to live for the rest of my life. These are my people. And, you know, like I said, it ascended into this whole realm of performance and health and being the most of yourself that you could possibly be. And nutrition is such a key component of that. So as much as I hope that I can, as a coach and affiliate owner, seed for people how awesome and wonderful exercise is, I hope to be able to do the same thing with food. And that, like I said, without losing the magic and the love and the art of cooking and amongst all of that, that people have this maybe misconception that you either enjoy your food or you eat healthy.
It's a wild thought. You're like, no, that is, that is a
like,
common thought. Yes.
And helping people shift their mindset and unlock this realm that maybe they didn't even know existed because they can't contemplate anything other than we're eating healthy and it's diet and restriction and it sucks, or we're eating whatever we want and we enjoy life and we're treating ourselves. You're like, there's a whole other world over here that we can live in.
When you experience the sensation, to me, like I think of when food is real whole food at volumes that are, you know, like whatever, like there's this vibrance in life. Your quality of your life experience is so enhanced as a result of it. So then like, but that needs to be experienced for long enough to like get acquainted with that, you know, but then it's like, wait, why would I don't want the alternative. I don't want to feel the way that I will feel, you know, but we have to arrive there. I am curious, are there any ingredients or anything in particular with food right now that are popular foods or whatever that just like infuriate you?
like
which ones piss you off?
This is me. Well, I was just saying to my husband last night, it's really unfortunate in the last, call it post-World War II era, 50, 70 years, just how far the tentacles of the ultra-processed food industry have made it into nearly everyone's daily life, to the point that some people don't even know what food is anymore, or how it's grown, or what it looks like when it comes out of, you know, how disconnected we've come from food. I'm in Saskatchewan, Western Canada. It's pretty wild west out there. Like my great grandma, they homesteaded in the prairies in a sod hut. Like this isn't 5,000 years ago, my ancestors. These are people that I have a photo of a few generations ago, and they did nothing but live off the land. And they knew the only thing that mattered for them was getting the healthiest people into the next generation. And they could do that entirely off of animals they hunted or raised, fruits and vegetables that they grew, canning, preserving, using all of these wonderful cooking and preserving methods. And within a couple generations, like all this knowledge has been lost. And I love cooking, but I'm like, if you left me in the prairies, I wouldn't survive for 5 seconds.
Sure.
Like,
We're so
I don't
far
know how
removed.
to grow grain and grind my own wheat and make bread from scratch. Like, I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I don't know how to butcher a chicken.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, and,
Right.
and it makes me sad to some extent how much that knowledge has been lost. So what specifically is in the food supply that drives me crazy? Like, all of it. Sugar, obviously. It makes me so mad how many things you want to eat. And you're like,
They put sugar in that.
why does this beef jerky need to have sugar in it? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I just wanted to find some meat here. And of course, the seed oils that are just everywhere in everything now. If you want to try to avoid seed oils, that means you're pretty much avoiding anything prepared in a restaurant, anything box bags packaged.
And your reason, because of course that seed oil topic is still, even for people within our world, it's still very controversial. It's
Yeah.
a hot button topic. And a lot of people think that seed oil people are just silly, right? So your bone to pick with seed oil has to do with the ratio of the omega-6 to 3, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Okay.
The ratio, we're not eating nearly enough omega-3 fatty acids. We're eating way too much, a super physiological dose of these omega-6 fatty acids. They are essential. We do need some of them.
Yep.
But they come in their whole food form from nuts and seeds and somewhat from our animal foods as well. So just being blasted with them everywhere in every type of processed food. And then there's also some biochemical factors that go into the way they're processed with high heat bleaching, deodorizing that can cause some toxic aldehyde byproducts. That, here's the thing, again, with the safety being largely untested and we're all part of this mass experiment that maybe we didn't even know was happening, you can choose to opt in to the seed oil group or you can choose to opt into the control group where you don't. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And
Yeah.
all about personal choice. You do you.
Right.
If you evaluate the majority of the evidence,
Choose your
and
journey.
you're like, choose your journey.
That's it. Yeah.
And you're like, I think these things are fine. I'm going to eat them. Cool. More power to you.
Yeah.
I personally am like, I'm going to stay in the control group and wait and see on all the people that have opted into the intervention group. And
Yeah.
I'd rather choose the things that go into my diet, my family's diet, that are closer to what my great grandma would recognize as food.
Yeah.
And canola oil and soybean oil wasn't part of that.
Right. And so then so it's partially the omega-6s and the ratio being all out of whack with those things. And then also the processing of them and the things that are added along the way and so on that get into them. So it's a combination of those two things, why seed oils for you are a no-fly zone or a avoid most of the time zone.
Mhm.
So then is that also then because like, so why would I care about those things for this specific thing? Then it would be partially what, an inflammatory response, systemic inflammation over the course of time and how that will negatively impact your body, as well as hormonal impact over the course of time.
Hormonal impact and metabolic, like what these fatty acids are doing in terms of like how the mitochondria functions and cell membranes and all sorts
the
of
powerhouse
things that
of
are,
the cell.
Yeah. Your ability to make energy.
What was that dumb?
No, it's just funny. It's just whenever anyone says mitochondria, someone else,
powerhouse of the cell.
someone always says.
Okay, so everyone knows.
Yeah,
That
someone
was
always.
redundant.
So it's,
I apologize.
Everyone's
no,
11th grade science teacher is happy when you is the powerhouse of the cell. Yeah, we all learned
it's
that.
not a
Do I
bad
need to come
statement.
up with a new?
It's not a bad statement. It's just a funny one because it's like for sure the follow-up statement.
It's the powerhouse of the cell.
It's actually,
It does lots. The mitochondria do
No,
a
it
lot of
does
other
tons of
interesting
stuff,
things, but they do produce the majority of your.
I
ATP.
also have heard that I don't even I've heard. Well, I don't know if it's correct now, so I don't. Now I'm just venturing into.
Well, you weren't wrong.
Are they bacteria?
They think that they were at one point a separate organism that got engulfed
Into the
by a
cell.
cell. Yeah, because the mitochondria have their own separate DNA.
Right.
You mean like as far as like evolution, like the
how,
human evolution?
How they got
okay,
in
got
there
it.
as
Yeah,
an
so they
organelle
made their way
inside
into a cell and they were bacteria, and then they can just die.
Oh yeah, happens all the time. You're
Yes.
constantly breaking down and building new mitochondria.
Yeah.
Mitochondrial biogenesis, it's called, when you make new ones.
Yep.
Exercise makes you make new ones.
Yep.
Fasting, sauna.
Yep.
Things that stress the body in short-term doses help you build new, healthier mitochondria.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about sugar, we talked about the seed oils.
Yep.
Other things that make me mad are all of the non-food items. So there's all these emulsifiers, and they go by guar gum and carrageenan. And from a gut health perspective, I'm sure you've been down that rabbit hole a ton.
Yeah.
So they don't make their way into a consideration of the calories or the macronutrients, but they're in the food. And again, with a lot of these food additives, especially in the US, being untested, like the way they're allowed to enter the food supply without proper evidence of harms or safety. And I think a lot of people are having these diffuse adverse reactions to these things, but don't know because they think, oh, is it the wheat? You're like, well, maybe. Is it the seed oil? Well, maybe. Or is it that your gut doesn't tolerate these emulsifiers very well, or are they irritating? So many things, like even cream. Cream has like heavy cream, carrageenan in it. Like, why?
Yeah, they've added that to it.
Yeah, you're like,
Yes.
why does it have to be in there? I just
Yeah.
wanted to put cream in my coffee, and now I have to worry about some untested food additive being in there.
Well, and I guess would you say so? Anti-caking agents, are those technically emulsifiers? No.
Not so much. So an emulsifier is something that keeps like a water and a fat from separating.
Yeah.
So in cream, the cream would rise to the top, the watery part of the milk.
Whereas the
would separate.
anti-caking agent, of course, is literally
You would find that like cellulose
Yeah.
on shredded cheese.
Yep.
It's things that keep the cheese shreds from sticking together. Cellulose is made from wood pulp, so it's literally like sawdust in the food. You're like,
Sick.
What about
Sick,
silicon
yeah.
dioxide?
yeah, that's another anti-caking agent as
Yeah.
well, right? So you'll find that sometimes in protein powders,
Yeah.
things like that keep things from sticking
That's pretty
together.
popular.
Yeah.
I guess maltodextrin is an anti. No,
Maltodextrin is a form of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
So it's a.
is it an anti-caking agent? Could it
I
be?
don't think so.
You don't know that, do you?
No, I have no idea.
I don't
Okay,
know.
great.
We'd have to.
I'm just
we'd have
enjoying.
to hey Google that one.
I'm learning.
Not totally sure.
I
Yeah.
can. Okay.
Maltodextrin is used in natural flavors often, where it just says natural flavors.
Often
Which
it
is-
will be.
Which
As
is which is even when you're as close to clean as you can, those
Yeah.
two little words pop up at the very end.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
know.
oh, what the fuck? I was so close.
Yep.
I was so close to like getting something clean. And you're like, no, I have no idea.
Yeah, and I mean now you can get into the legality of food labeling and what has to be listed certain ways and what can you call something on a food label and
Right.
it's slightly different between Canada and the US. You guys do some things better, we do some things better. And
Do we? Are you sure?
What do we do better?
What do we do better?
on food labels, there's some things that are required to be disclosed on US food labels that aren't in Canada.
Interesting.
In Canada, one of the things we do well is label so all
No
form-
food dyes. Less food dyes.
well, slightly less. Yeah, there's a
Less.
few of those. But just in the way we label things. So all sugars have to be grouped together into one category and just called sugar. And then the types are listed in brackets.
Hmm.
So whereas American food labeling allows a food company to use 5 or 6 different types of sugar and sprinkle them throughout the ingredients list so that you don't see that sugar might be the first or maybe second ingredient
Yep.
by volume, by
Yep.
percentage in something. Where in Canada, we don't let them get away with that. It has to be all grouped under one. So you'll see things that
Got it.
like a granola bar or a cereal and sugar is the first or second
I was
ingredient.
gonna say the first ingredient. That's the first
Crazy.
ingredient.
Yeah. Whereas the nutrition facts label in the US, you guys list added sugars,
Yeah.
which we don't in Canada. So that's also interesting. What's the naturally occurring sugars in like fruit or dairy versus
Sure.
what has been added to the food? So we don't separate out added sugars on
Mm.
the nutrition facts. But so,
Got
I
it.
mean, there's a few, those are just legal things
Um,
in different areas of the world.
maltodextrin is used as an anti-caking agent.
Oh,
is what,
there we go.
is what I briefly found.
Hey, hey Google for the
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. We have the entirety of human knowledge in your pocket.
Yes.
You want to know what something is? Type it in and find out.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we should be doing is
Yeah.
do I want to
curious?
just be curious. Just eat whatever you want, but you should probably know what it is.
Yep.
That seems reasonable to me.
Do you have any wild stories from your affiliate of members who have come in with any sort of chronic health issues, who have made massive transitions to quality food and seen like my story? Maybe it's not my specific story, but do you have any of those where, yet again, maybe you're not saying it's absolutely only this that made the change, right? But like something happened.
Oh, for sure. You have these stories all the time of people that I changed my diet and now I got off my anxiety medication. Had no idea that diet was related to mental symptoms. Or, you know, one lady was going through all this diagnostic testing. They thought maybe she had lupus, like a variety of strange symptoms. Changed her diet, removed some things from her diet, and all that went away. Yeah, she's like, I don't know specifically what it was, but I know that I'm better now and I'm not having these problems. And those kinds of things all the time. People, oh, I was always struggling to lose that last 20 pounds and then I just shifted to this and now I don't even have to worry about it. Or always was plagued with food noise and cravings and just constantly thinking about food. And then it turns out if I just remove the chaotic information of ultra processed foods from my diet, the peace that people feel with the internal food noise is a underappreciated benefit.
Yep.
Too. You put, garbage in, garbage out, quality in, quality out.
Yeah. So then on the flip side of things, were you about to ask a question?
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
It'll derail the conversation.
So on the flip side of things, things that you are angry at, all the food additives, what the heck is that? That's not even real food. Yeah, I'm
just
pissed.
an old lady shakes fist at sky,
That's right.
like everything. Yeah.
My nana, French, her finger was long. She'd shake it, and I'm like, oh man, like it would get some distance for sure. It was scary.
And I am pissed. I am upset because there are still in my life, my own personal experience, sure, but there still are in my life many people who I know and love who are chronically ill in some form or fashion, who just cannot escape the trap of that. And I have so much curiosity based on what I've learned through what I've researched and also my personal experience of what positive impact getting away from those foods could cause in their lives, and just how breaking away is it's not to be underestimated. Like if it were easy, this wouldn't be a conversation that we're having. So I'm upset with how addicted, I guess, that we are as a society to these Franken foods, whatever, because I believe that people that I love are suffering significantly as a result of it. So that's my belief. So that's why I'm pissed off about it. But on the flip side of things, what are some of the things? I mean, like foods that you rank highly, and you're like you enjoy eating them as well as they offer a ton of nutritional benefit.
Yeah, and I think it was. I mean, I knew because I had observed for years of what inputs, and there was sort of this black box, and then what produced the best outputs. But going through doing a master's of science and understanding the nutritional biochemistry,
Quick vibe.
He's crushing it. That's
If
an
we
outfit.
could turn around the camera, that would be
I
great.
You come out not particularly that excited about certain foods that everyone from Elmo to Oprah tells you should eat, but then really enamored with things like egg yolks, red meat, oily cold water fish, full fat dairy as unprocessed as possible, liver, organ meats, very underappreciated in our Western diet culture.
Yes.
But things that people valued for years, and you go back to traditional like French cooking or other places, or even more hunter-gatherer societies, right? The liver is the prized part of the animal, and it goes to the king kind of thing. They didn't know why, but they knew that those things produced good results.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are like nutrient-dense whole foods that provide not just the macronutrients, but the micronutrients that humans need to thrive in the right form that we can best absorb them and use them.
And they don't come with sawdust.
Yeah. I personally choose to opt out of eating sawdust. That's just me.
So wild.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna go home and just not eat anything but ground beef. Thanks, guys.
Hey,
So
that's an experiment you could try.
Yeah.
Input, observe the output, see what happens.
Yeah. So my question was, so we're coming up on an hour. Thank you for sure. I know.
Seriously.
You let me get on my soapbox. I'll take.
No,
all
it's
day.
good. So the
I'm
new
having a great time.
push from CrossFit, right, is like, fuck the quick fix, right? CrossFit's the cure. And so it's a clear attack, a direct focus on GLP-1s.
Yep.
And so there's obviously this massive abuse that's happening for GLP-1s, but I think there's also there's quite a few really impressive stories of people that are using it well. Like, where do you stand on it? Is there any use like at all? Like, what's your opinion on GLP-1s?
Yeah, I'm not immediately hostile towards the idea. Like maybe people might expect that I would be.
Sure.
I do think, back to your point, that a lot of people are suffering with something that looks much closer to addiction than just, I don't know how to choose the right foods.
Right.
And I think in the field of nutrition, we would do a much better job in service of people if we regarded this like an addiction and use the same tools that we know work in drug and alcohol addiction. And just like there are tools, to get off heroin, we have methadone, and there's tools. They're not meant to be long-term fixes, but they can help people and they can bridge a gap, and they exist, and we shouldn't immediately shun them because it's not complete sobriety. So people are in some dark depths with ultra-processed food addiction, and if we have a tool that helps them regain some control in the short term and gets the wheel spinning in the right direction and gets them out of that dark place, But what the medical system right now is not doing at all is helping them develop any tools.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I do feel like this is where the CrossFit affiliate can pick up that deficiency for people.
Yes.
And I've said several times, if I had more time, I don't have a lot of free time, I would start a program at my affiliate for people using GLP-1s for weight loss. That's not only a weight loss support group, but it's a nutrition support group and it's a exercise support group.
Right.
So you can mitigate a lot of the negative symptoms of GLP-1s in terms of muscle mass and bone density loss by eating enough protein, doing resistance training. And certainly people would benefit from being in a community and under the guidance of a coach that cares. So I think there's an opportunity for us to be helpers more than criticizers.
Sure.
Is it, fuck the quick fix. You absolutely can't regard it as like, this will solve all your problems and you don't have to do anything. Not at all.
Yeah.
But it's a tool and it exists, and the results can be effective, but we could also help a lot of the negatives if there was a more complete treatment plan in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and that just takes me back to like effective communication in general, right? Like if you come at it from a hostile position, the likelihood that you are heard by the person you're trying to have that conversation with is not great.
Yeah,
right?
we're just going to alienate people that need help.
Yeah. And so then like that wasn't the goal.
Yeah.
The goal was it was to be heard. And so then being mindful of that along the way, even though I know that for me, there's a lot of passion behind like believing in whatever thing that you feel is the solution. Right. But yet, not being hostile. I think you dropped some good stuff here.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Yeah.
So I'm a pretty high fat consumer and I've always had great cholesterol, like very low LDL, very high HDL, but a lot of my friends haven't, right? And they've struggled, like post-pregnancy and things like that, and pre-diabetic, or, and so a common diet that we're seeing is this meats-based diet, right? And so
hybrid carnivore.
Yeah, hybrid carnivore. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. And so
animal-based.
Yeah.
But with honey and
with fruit.
Right. Yeah, some fruit. Right. And so, but with that, most of the time, their cholesterol's still, even if it's high or low, like it gets higher. Like what is your view? You're substantially more educated than I am on like, is high cholesterol bad, or is, and so like where do you, I don't know if that's like,
do you have another hour?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I mean, I just like
you just opened another
well, I'm just it's like,
here we go.
Yeah, it's just super interesting, right?
It's
because I've had all my family's exceptionally unhealthy, right? My dad died from like a botched surgery from undiagnosed atherosclerosis, right? Like, like his entire body. And so like all my family died from like heart disease and things like that. And so no one eats healthy. So it's just an interesting one, right? And I've got a good friend who's on it, she's losing weight. All of her numbers look better, but her cholesterol is staying, just this like arbitrary 180 to whatever it is, right?
On it, you mean on the carnivore?
On hybrid carnivore.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, what are your, I don't know, maybe like your 5 to 10 minute thoughts?
Like, how can I sum this up quickly? I actually just wrote a whole series for CrossFit.com on heart disease, cholesterol, and then statins.
Sick.
I'm jumping into the deep end of some controversial stuff. So over the next few weeks, I have written a whole bunch of content for the community.
Can't wait to read it.
And where will those be?
On CrossFit.com. So they'll come out if you subscribe to the email of the day. You get the professional coach. It's on CrossFit.com/essentials is the archive of all of the articles that we publish all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Okay, so short term, no, I don't think you can just say high cholesterol is blanket universally bad. I think there's a lot of context. Years ago, the Ansel Keys era and then 1930s, 40s, 50s, where it was like cholesterol. And that was bad. And then we developed better testing methods. And now we understand there's different particles and the carrier particles of that cholesterol. And there's LDL and HDL and triglycerides and chylomicrons. And okay, there's clearly something different. And then we developed this idea of good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, which is a complete misnomer. So HDL is good, LDL is bad. And then we discovered, there's different types of LDL particles, and there's big fluffy ones, and there's small dense ones, and maybe the different types of these particles have different effects. And it got more and more granular as we went. There's been a hyper focus in the medical community on LDL because there's a medication that changes it. We don't have medications that move HDL or triglycerides. Therefore, even though those are better predictors of cardiovascular disease, the ratio, particularly between those two things, gets kind of swept under the rug because we don't have drugs for that. So if you follow the money,
Interesting. Sure.
Statins are the number one selling pharmaceutical drugs of all time in the like trillions of dollars globally now.
GLP-1s are catching up swiftly.
We can't underestimate the role of the economics involved.
Yeah,
like
sure.
That's not a tinfoil hat thing to say. It's like there's a lot of money
Sure.
involved in these discussions. You eat higher saturated fat, it will almost certainly increase your LDL. You eat lower saturated fat, it will almost certainly lower it. Is that a good or bad thing? Context dependent.
There we go.
There's a whole picture of the human being. What is your LDL, but also what's your HDL, what's your triglycerides, and what's your blood glucose, and what's your inflammatory markers, what's your body composition, where do you carry your body fat? There's so many factors that go into saying, like, is this a good or bad thing?
Yep.
Okay.
LDL cholesterol is the LDL particles and the cholesterol that it carries have many roles, including part of the immune system. So as you get older, people with the lowest LDL actually have the highest mortality. So having very low LDL would be not desirable. Makes it harder for you to fight cancer and suppress bacterial infections. So older people tend to die of like sepsis and bacterial pneumonia and things like that. So low LDL is higher risk. There's also a whole can of worms of the difference between men and women. A lot of the research in pharmaceutical studies have been done largely on men or haven't separated out male-female responses to things. So having higher cholesterol for a woman is probably better than lower, but there's a whole can of worms there. This profile of high LDL, high HDL, low triglycerides under people with low normal percentage of body fat became known as a lean mass hyper responder.
Okay.
So you would find it in, people like us, lean, athletic, on a higher animal-based, higher saturated fat diet. I have been a lean mass hyper responder at times with very high LDL numbers. And now there's entire research studies being done on just us weirdos. It's a small percentage of the population that fits that category, but like maybe there's something metabolically different about this population that makes high LDL in that context not a cardiovascular disease risk factor. So it's like a long-winded answer to say it depends.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think that's where we're at right now.
And it sounds like if you look at other biomarkers, don't just look at one in isolation, like there's more to it.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
Cool.
Big picture, context dependent. And I think if all of your performance markers and all of your biomarkers and you feel great, but there's one that's weird, you're like, you need to evaluate that in the bigger context. We can't just look at one number on a thing and be like, you're sick, you need drugs. It's like, that's not how that works. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it is. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That is
you're a perfect candidate.
Fundamentally
Hopefully
how it
you'll have
works.
this for life, and you'll need more. And that was, I guess, we gotta go. I had an interesting conversation with a doctor about my situation that straight up told me, like, our solutions will only make you worse. Go away.
The doctor told you that?
Literally.
That's a good doctor.
And that was, it was.
That was your ER doc, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah. I had been getting sicker and sicker, and then I traveled, and in the first day of travel, I went downhill so fast I actually got pretty fearful. And so I went there knowing I'm going to accept a temporary solution that is not going to be my plan.
Yeah.
But I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And so I went in and I was just like praying, like, please give me a doctor that listen. And it was the craziest thing. He had been in practice for 40 plus years. And he was like in cowboy boots and actually looked and appeared to be like healthy himself. I don't know. But he just said, yeah, don't come back here. Like, I can make you okay for now with this, temporary solution. But this, what we have to offer long-term, you have a huge problem and you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I was
that's
like,
amazing.
I was so grateful. And
we all have that
true,
humility to know the limitations of our tools.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can fix with diet and exercise.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can fix with pills and surgery. And we should all have the humility and the self-awareness to recognize the limitation of our tools.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Okay,
Sweet.
cool. Thanks for letting me get that in there.
Cool. Awesome.
This was super fun. Thank you for
thank you so much for making time to come over
me
here.
get on my soapbox. And
Yeah.
wag my finger and
Wag.
eat real food.
That's right.
Yeah,
Cool.
I love it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, Jocelyn, thank you so much. You
Thanks,
guys have a
guys.
great one. Guys, we'll be back in 50 minutes with Nathan Bird from Bird Box.
Yep.
All right. Adios.
Bye.